Hi everybody, TJ Mack Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. And in today's video, I'm doing an episode of the series I've done from time to time, and I have it in my playlist. It's what I enjoy about my vintage card collection. And about a year and a half ago, I did a collaboration with my friend Alex from the channel Bowman53 on how cards go together. Now I'm going to put a link to the video in my description if you haven't seen it. It's something that I'm quite proud of working with him on. He's just such a talented content creator, and I thought we did a good job really emphasizing what we enjoy about our collections. Now, in the video, we showed different arrangements of cards from our collection and illustrated how cards can tell a story or catch your eye because of the photographs, the artwork, or colors portrayed in the arrangement. Now, it's often said that we have seen most of the cards that are shown on YouTube, but I think what separates channels is the personal experience or perspective that each content creator brings to their cards. Now, from time to time, I like to do videos like these because it shows my approach to collecting and how I love to show off cards in a way that is unique to me as a collector. I hope you enjoy. Now, I've shown this Frank Gifford and Mickey Mantle on my channel before, but I've never shown them in such an arrangement as this. Now, in this grouping, you have, again, Frank Gifford, Mickey Mantle, and then on the end, Andy Bathgate. In the 1950s, New York was the mecca of sports, and three of its brightest stars were these men. Here you have the 1956 NFL MVP, Frank Gifford of the Giants. This is his 56 Topps card. The 57 American League MVP, Mickey Mantle, on his 57 Topps card. And the 59 NHL Hart Trophy winner as the league's MVP, in Andy Bathgate of the New York Rangers on his 59 Topps card. Now, all three of these guys were handsome, charismatic superstars who were the face of their respective franchise and eventual Hall of Famers. The one you probably know the least about is Andy Bathgate. Well, he was the big right winger, and he had one of the hardest, most accurate shots in hockey. He led the Rangers in scoring for 8 straight seasons and was the first Ranger on Sports Illustrated. Just a beautiful display here that takes you back to that era. What is awesome about themes and displays is that you can be creative and put your own personality and connections to them. There are so many possibilities, and it has become one of my favorite parts of collecting. Now, I can take that same 57 Topps Mantle, and I've talked about this before as him being my father's favorite player. I pair it up with the 78 Reggie Jackson, my favorite player growing up, and now combine it with this 2019 Bowman Chrome Aaron Judge, my oldest son's favorite player, and here we have 3 generations of heroes. Again, cards that we've seen before, but put together in such a manner that show off your personality and focus as a collector. My friend Dylan at Double D Vintage Cards showed his 59 Topps Frank Robinson on one of his recent YouTube shorts. It seems like most of us vintage collectors love this card of Robinson with the black inset surrounding the picture of him fielding. Now, Dylan asked me what 2 cards I would place next to it in my display. In my comment to him, I told him I would go with these 2 players right here. You have the 61 Topps Hank Aaron and the 66 Topps Willie Mays. And the reason why I like these 3 together for a display piece is that they're all doing something with the ball in their hands and not the bat. Here you can see the glove on Willie Mays, and then of course you got Hank Aaron holding the ball in his hands. Just think that makes for a nice trio of 3 of the great National League outfielders of that era. I also said to him that you could put the Veda Pinson next to him as well, and this is a 61 Topps. Then you can add Frank Robinson in his Baltimore Orioles uniform, which is a team he later played for. And in this case, I went with the 69 Topps, which I think is one of his nicer cards. And I like the posed shot of him swinging and the way it's cropped, allowing for a nice looking close-up of the Orioles slugger there. And then next to the Frank, you can put his best teammate in Baltimore, which was the Brooks Robinson, shown here on his 66 Topps card. And just so you know, I went with the Vada Pinson over Pete Rose because he had a lot of good seasons with Vada Pinson starting in the later 50s into the early 60s before he got traded to the Orioles. Rose came along a little later. They were teammates for a little bit, but not as long as him and Pinson were. I also like to do themes of teams I grew up watching. Now, sure, I could buy a team set, but that is not my approach to the hobby. I'll pick certain players from a team that I like. It doesn't necessarily have to be the rookie cards, but it can just be cards I like that display well. Here we have the core group of the Browns team, who during the 1979 and 80 seasons were known as the Cardiac Kids due to their propensity to pull out games in the remaining seconds. You have here first Brian Sipe at quarterback, who was the 1980 NFL MVP. He's one of my favorites growing up. This is his 1976 Topps rookie. Next to him, you have Mike Pruitt, who was an excellent running back that ran for over 1,000 yards 4 times, which was a big deal then. This is his 77 Topps rookie card. The other running back next to him was the quick and versatile Greg Pruitt. He's not related to Mike. And I've said before, this is one of my favorite cards of his and in the 1975 Topps football set. Then at the end, you have the 79 Topps rookie card of Hall of Fame tight end Ozzie Newsome. Now, he was the guy that helped make the passing game go. A tight end who had soft hands and ran routes like a wide receiver. That wasn't very common at that time. Now, the Cardiac Kids never won a Super Bowl, but they were so much fun to watch as they kept you on the edge of your seat. Now, for me, it's not all about the Hall of Famers. I collect players for many different reasons, but one type of player that piques my interest are those that were on a Hall of Fame path, but for whatever reason it was derailed. Now, in this example here, you have 3 cards. In the case of Sandy Koufax, he ended up having a Hall of Fame career due to some dominant years in the early to mid 60s. But next to him, you have the 1976 Topps J.R. Richard, and on the end, the 1963 Topps Sam McDowell. For Richard and McDowell, they had good careers, and at points they were great players, but they also had issues with control early on in their career that they struggled with. In the case of J.R. Richard, in 1980, he suffered from a stroke and never pitched again, just as he was hitting his prime and putting up some pretty nice seasons. And in the case of Sam McDowell, he led the majors 5 times in strikeouts and just had some years of dominance, but struggled with alcohol abuse and just other issues that never really allowed him to reach quite his full potential and have that Hall of Fame career. Now, just to speak a little bit to Richard, he was about 6'8". He had an overpowering fastball and biting slider, but he struggled with his control. In his major league debut in 1971, he pitched against the Giants, ended up winning the game, and he struck out Willie Mays 3 times. Unfortunately, he bounced around the minors before having his big breakout season in 1976, when he finished with a 20-15 record and a 2.75 ERA. He went on in 1978 and 79 to lead Major League Baseball in strikeouts, posting back-to-back 300-plus strikeout seasons. Now, in 1980, he was selected as the National League starter for the All-Star game. He was 10-4 with a 1.91 ERA before suffering a stroke, as I mentioned, and he never ended up pitching again. Now, he did try to come back, but was unsuccessful. In later life, he ended up broke and homeless, living under a bridge. Then he received some help from a church and later became a minister before passing away in 2021. Now, one of the things I like to do with my cards is to display them in such a way to show action. And it's a fun way to do it in a binder as well, but it looks really nice when you can lay them all out side by side. And I've done something similar to this in my collaboration with Alex with Tom Seaver, and you can check that out in the video. But here first you have J.R. Richard just staring you down in this pose shot, but I like to picture him maybe that he's on the mound looking at you. And here he is getting that long leg up in the air, getting ready to deliver that pitch. The leg is now starting to drop. Brings that arm back, getting ready to release. And there's his finish as he blows the ball right by the batter. Just a dominant pitcher from his day for a few years. Just didn't do it long enough. J.R. Richard. I want to leave you today with this image of 3 of the best catchers from the 1970s shown during a game with their masks off. This is 70s baseball photography at its best. Such a beautiful trio of cards that captures what it is to don the tools of ignorance and play the most grueling and important position in baseball. Now, the nickname Tools of Ignorance was attributed to either Muddy Rule or Bill Dickey, and it's meant to be ironic, contrasting the intelligence needed by a catcher to handle the duties of the position with the foolishness needed to play a position hazardous enough to require so much protective equipment. I hope you enjoyed this look into some of the ways cards go together and the different perspective you gain on an individual card when it's placed in a group. Everybody have a great week.